Hey, what's going on people? It's SGZ here from the SpartanGameZone, and in this video I'll be showcasing 4 powerful underrated builds in Borderlands 3. I'll be covering one per Vault Hunter, so no matter who you play as, there'll be something in here for you. Ever get sick and tired of running the same setup, want to change in playstyle and deal that damage from another angle? Well, here we are. I heard some great suggestions across the week, and here's some underrated builds packaged for your enjoyment. If you want me to cover any of them in more detail, then let me know in the comments and I'll make that happen. Don't forget to tell me about any more builds people need to know about, and I'll squeeze them into a part 2. If you enjoyed the video, I'd appreciate it if you could drop a like, and maybe, just maybe, you might want to subscribe. And let's crack into it. We open part 1 of the most underrated builds in Borderlands 3 with Guardian Rack Flak, a build where you make your pet do the work. Just loosely tie a grenade to your Rack's legs and hope it falls off at just the right time to deal some crazy amounts of damage. The skill tree for this one isn't super important, but we want to go all the way in the orange tree so we have access to all the Rack augments, and grab Grim Harvest, which boosts our action skill damage. For the green tree we go all the way down. Blue tree we pick up a few skills like Frenzy, and so we can give our Jabber an SMG, and the purple tree remains empty. Key items for this build, and there's 3 of them, which are all deeply connected. First up we have the Guardian Angel, a new shotgun that you can get from the Fallen Heroes Vault card as part of the Director's Cut add-on. It boosts our damage relative to the distance we are from our enemies, giving our Racks a huge buff, and there's also another thing we can tack on to increase our damage even further. That thing is the Peregrine class mod, which has an increased chance to drop from Dr. Benedict. You fight around here in the Benediction of Pain as part of DLC 4. This mod causes our Racks to drop grenades when they swoop over enemies, literally dive bombing them, and the damage will also be boosted by the Guardian Angel, combining to cause some absolute havoc. The grenade we want to string to their feet is the Ghast Call, which drops as part of the Halloween event, but you can get it as a rare drop from the Valentine's event also. You'll want the Vindicated variant to deal the most damage possible, and feel free to experiment with other grenades. Lastly, we grab an action skill start Revolter, which drops from Sumo, who you fight around here in Eschaton Row, as part of the Director's Cut. The shield is perfect for this setup, as by using our Rack attack we can activate our action skill all the time, granting us the Revolter's 200% shock damage boost and dealing mountains of damage. It's a great build that uses this combination of gear and Rack attack to devastate the field without you having to raise a finger. Moving on now to a Zane build that focuses on bringing the freeze. Let's call it the Freeze Bringer. When enemies need a little cooling off, why not go the extra step and encase them in ice? This build focuses on freezing your enemies, preventing them from shooting back and causing them to receive more damage at the same time. It also utilizes a dome barrier for survivability and the cannon for damage boosting, and is especially suited to mobbing but still packs a punch against bosses. The skill trees are as follows. For the green tree, we're just in here to utilize Brain Freeze to freeze our enemies solid without even using cryo weapons, and we also grab the dome. In the blue tree, it's pretty standard here, picking up all the good stuff. For the orange tree, we grab Donnybrook, and this is what the purple tree looks like. Now for the key pieces of gear, and we start with an Icebreaker Deathless, which has an increased chance to drop from Phoenix around here in the Splinterlands. This particular Deathless will boost our damage against all the enemies that become entombed, as well as increase our cryo efficiency. Because its unique effect reserves our health at 1, we can also utilize URAD anointments for extra damage. Another key item is the Hustler Com, which allows non-critical hits to count as criticals, and works exceptionally well with Brain Freeze and the weapons we'll be using. It drops from the train in Sapphire's Run as part of DLC 4. For this build we want to be using multi-palleted weapons or guns that provide a lot of hits so we can freeze things effectively. One great weapon for this build is the Convergence, a DLC 4 Hyperion shotgun that can come in all the elements, and has an increased chance to drop from Dr. Benedict, who you fight around here in the Benediction of Pain. What makes this gun so good for this build is its multiple pellets and unique effect. Brain Freeze procs from each of its pellets, and the Hustler can make the blades it summon count as crits, upping its damage way further. It's a fantastic all-round gun in this setup, especially while mobbing. Another great weapon since we're using the barrier is obviously the Redistributor, a Hyperion SMG that you can only get by defeating Wotan in the Melee 1 takedown. With Zane's barrier, this thing turns into a chain gun, ricocheting projectiles to nearby enemies and just blitzing health bars. With this build, it'll cover the field in an avalanche, and the Hustler will grant us way more criticals than is normally possible. Next up, Amara, and this one we're going all in on the Slam fam. I dub it Slamara. You know, when you go to make a smoothie, chuck some random ingredients into the blender and it ends up tasting good. Well, this is the build version of that. Like Guardian Rack Flak, your playstyle is gonna be different. We're gonna face slam, but there's also no lifesteal. We get that from the Slam man, and it's a heck of a lot of fun. Onto the skill trees, and as we move through, we're basically putting all our points into our action skill, both damage and cooldown. In the blue tree, we grab the capstone so we can use our action skill twice per cooldown. Orange tree, we're in here for the damage. Moving on to the purple tree, and we want to spec in far enough to grab this augment to increase our cooldown after every action skill kill. And lastly, for the green tree, where Phase Slam lives, we'll be using Fracture as our Phase Slam variant because it has the shortest cooldown, and also we can pair it with a certain weapon to massively increase its damage. The key weapon for this build is the Guardian Angel, which again drops as a vault card reward from the director's cut. The behaviour we want to tap into here is the same for Guardian Rack Flak, where we gain damage the further we are from our enemies. Each time we activate Phase Slam, it's going to receive a massive boost in damage, easily capable of one-shotting mobs, and powerful enough to decimate bosses using just our action skill. Because we're spec'd into heavy rain, its projectile speed gets increased dramatically, making it way better to use, and for all weapons you'll want them to ideally deal splash damage with Phase Slam anointments. Another key piece of gear for this build is the Phase Zerker class mod, which has an increased chance to drop from Hag of Fervor from the trial of the same name. For the rolls, we want that boost to our action skill because, did I mention, this is a Phase Slam build, and we want our action skill to shine. Other gear includes the It's Pissed grenade mod, the Pearl of Ineffable Knowledge, and of course an action skill start Revolter to provide a big damage boost. We end with a loyal Moze build that'll have you full of bullets. Well, maybe not you, but your enemies. You'll just be holding a lot of ammo. It's a COV Allegiance setup focused on using the most ammo hungry weapons in the game without worrying about feeding them. To the skill trees, and the majority of it happens in the green tree, so we'll start there. We want match set to increase how long we can go without needing to cool off our guns. Click click boosts our damage the longer we hold down the trigger, and forge gives us some passive ammo regeneration. For the blue tree, it's pretty standard. We grab the splash damage boosting skills, Vampire for health, and Means of Destruction for further ammo regeneration. And in the orange tree, we're in here for extra gun damage. Key items for this build include obviously COV weapons, which I'll go over in a second, but we also want a COV Company Man, which you can get from Hemovorus the Invincible and Darkthirst Dominion. This artifact provides massive across the board buffs to the guns we'll be using. If you want to have insane ammo regen, then for shields pick the Super Soldier, otherwise you can equip a Revolter for more damage. For our class mod, we rock Minesweeper to boost our damage with non-splash damage weapons whenever we land criticals. And you can also run Blastmaster when using a COV gun that deals splash damage. A good utility weapon for this build is the Hanging Chad, which when combined with Forge can fill up our pistol reserve insanely quickly. You get it from the quest Swamp Bro, which you can start in Floodmoor Basin. Onto the weapons, and I want to highlight the Tizzy, the most rapid firing weapon in the game when it's all heated up. It is found most often in this chest as part of Arms Race. The Tizzy is normally a gun that you can only use for 60 seconds, which is more than enough time to down a boss, but in this setup we can mob with it too. Because it shoots for so long before it breaks, its ammo regen rate is insanely high, allowing us to use it while mobbing and dish out its incredible damage all of the time. Another great weapon to use for this build is the Gargoyle, a corrosive pistol from DLC 3. That has an increased chance to drop from Dick and Goyle. You fight around here in Bloodsun Canyon. This gun is great because not only is it powerful, but it also deals splash damage, which we can take to another level. Other good weapons include the Rebound, Hydro Frost and Saw Bar, but other COV weapons will perform great in this setup. With this build you'll be dishing out damage all day long, the fun will never end. So that's all for this video. I hope you enjoyed it and learned of 4 underrated builds that you can utilize to not only provide a unique playstyle, but a damaging one too. If you did, consider dropping a like or subscribing, and I'll catch you in the next one.